But there's people who like, one, let's say that they grew up around nothing but violence.
Yeah.
Since they were children. Like, let's say you grew up in the hood.
Yeah.
And you're not involved in it, but you just, by default, since you grew up in that area, you're going to see this physical violence all around you all the time. It's strange that you become accustomed to violence, right? And I think people who become accustomed to violence, they have a totally different perspective, like, on the world. Yeah. And I think sometimes it might be better in certain cases.
Well, then it's like what you're saying about desensitization. Your desensitization.
Yeah, desensitization.
It's a long one. Yeah.
I think it might be better in some cases, but then again, bro, there's guys like I have family members who are ex-military who were in legitimate, like, you know, war. Dude, they seen plenty of horrific, probably the worst things you can see in humanity. One of my
best friends growing up, like,
it's a crazy thing.
But it's crazy. Like, this kid, chillest dude ever. Like, we've been friends since we were 12, right? Yeah. And he when we were in high school, he decided, I'm gonna go and be a part of West Point. So for anyone who doesn't know, West Point is like the military academy, like the Army Academy. So like top of the top, super smart kid. Always knew he wanted to be in the Army. And I'm now I'm 24, so that's 6 years out of high school. And he's been going through it. Like, he went to 4 years in college, and then he did the 2 years outside where he was like starting to be on base and learning this. And recently he got deployed like a year ago, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And we had a show, when was it? March. We had a show in LA, and he came. This is the first time he's ever been to one of my shows. And he starts talking to me. He's telling me a story how 36 hours ago, he was in Syria. Bombs were going off everywhere. It was becoming like super, super normal. Like, once a week, just bombs would be going off on their base, whatever. And he called his mom. He's like, "Mom, I think this is the one. I think I'm going to go." And he called her. He's freaking out. He's like, I think this is it. And his mom starts freaking out, whatever happens. And then he's like, bro, 24 hours later in a Walmart in Colorado, got sent home. And he's sitting in the Walmart, shaking, like physically. And then he came to the show, and the loud music got to him, bro. Like PTSD was real, and he's so young, and he already has the PTSD. So it's like, he's seen that violence, you know what I'm saying? But like, do you really become desensitized? You know what I'm saying? Like, PTSD is so real, bro. Like, I didn't believe in it until I saw him go through it.
For sure.
I didn't know what it was until I saw him go through it. Like,
these guys, like ex-military guys, there's like a common saying amongst them where it's like, you can tell who's gone through what depending on their expression of it. And
that's what he said the same thing to me, bro. He literally said the same thing.
I find it to be true in my experience. I don't know if it's really true, but for like, my family member is my uncle. He was a Marine for 20 years. And like, right when we went to Iraq, basically, like right after 9/11, all the way up until, I don't know when, he retired. But basically, like, same with him. It's like, he's for sure at some point in his life, I don't know if still it's the same, but developed PTSD from these like very violent tours.
100%.
Crazy, where it's like, you almost can't, if you've never been through, I've never been through this, you've never been through this. It's hard to imagine the reality of fighting for your life
while having to take somebody else's.
Yes. Yeah. And doing it in a way where you're on a battlefield, bullets are whizzing by you, there's danger everywhere. It's like, it's hard to imagine that reality, but I think about it, like, once you go through that, you'll never be the same. Never in your life. You'll never ever be the same.
I mean, it's how could you imagine? How could you? What, you got to come back home and work a 9 to 5 at a desk,
right?
You know how messed up that is,
dude. I think that exact thought. I'm like, I look at this man and it intrigues me because he's a hilarious guy. Yeah, he's so funny, but he's so like quiet. Yeah, he's so reserved and quiet. And in the rare instances where he shared like a story or something with me, like I remember this one time. Oh, this is a crazy story. My family, we were, you know what inner tubing is? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we went. Okay, for those of you who don't know what inner tubing is, because I grew up in the desert, I didn't know until then. You basically like you sit on a big inflated tube on the snow and you just go down hella fast.
Oh, you're talking about I don't know why I was thinking like lake like lake tubing. I do know what inner tubing is, but I'm here. I'm saying, of
like,
course.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay, I get you.
You know what I mean?
Snow tubing.
Snow tubing.
Snow inner tubing.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So we were going to do that, and whole family was with us. My uncle was there, and I was walking with my cousins, and we walked by like a manhole, like a open sewer hole, basically, and it smelled so terrible. Literally, I remember gagging physically when I smelled it. I was like, oh, and I made this comment. I was like, that's literally the worst thing that I ever smelled ever in my life. And I was like jokingly asking my cousins, like, what's the worst thing you ever smelled before? We were just like talking that. And then I asked my uncle, I was like, what's the worst thing you ever smelled? And with a stone face in my eyes, after like thinking about it, like for a few seconds, he like genuinely thought about it. And he's like, rotting dead bodies in the sun.
Oh my God.
Was his response. And I was like, whoa, like, it was just so crazy. Because one, like, he doesn't, like I said, he hasn't really expressed much, but what he has, like that instance, it was just like shocking to me, right? And later he shared a little bit of that story. Was they were in some like little small city or town in Iraq or something. I think they were just doing like a check-in. I don't know what you call it. They were just like moving with the unit.
Right.
And I don't want to like butcher this story, but I probably will. But essentially what happened was there was a truck that was out there that was full of dead bodies that were just basically there for like days on end. Yeah, and he said like, I think he was the one who like opened the door up with like they're in the Marine Corps, you know, they're grunts. Yeah. They're the first ones out there.
Front line.
They're gonna go. And I remember him telling me just like, the smell is just so distinct. Yeah, it's just so memorable. Yeah, and they've been sitting there in this truck for who knows how many days. Yeah, and it's dangerous with over there too, because like IEDs, fools could plant a bomb like underneath these bodies, all that. It's just like, it is so crazy. You know what I don't understand is there's a weird disrespect towards the military in our culture.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
You know what I mean? Because you know what I think it is I think people attribute the military to politics. It's like when you think about the military, like I think most people are like, okay, they're right wing or they're left wing or this or that. But it's like, bro, every nation for the most part has a military. I mean, not every single nation, but almost every nation has a military, right? Yeah. Like I feel like when I was growing up, I kind of had a disrespect towards the military because I was stupid and I was an idiot and I didn't really get it. And then when I saw my friend, my childhood best friend go into it, I started to learn like, bro, like this kid is not doing this to be cool. He's not doing this to be somebody's icon. He's not doing it to be selfish. He's going in to risk his whole life, his entire life. And that kid had to sit with that fact for years. And I understand what he's about to do is either going to kill him or it's going to protect his own country. Yeah. And I'm not that person, bro. I couldn't do it. I'll say it with a straight face. Like, I'm not somebody that could go and fight for the country. Yeah. It's just never, I'm not a fighter. It's not who I am. To see him do it, come back, changed, and a different man, bro, I have the utmost respect for this kid.
Absolutely.
The utmost. Like, it changed my whole perception on the military.
That's crazy.
Like you take these these young kids, bro. They're most of them are coming in at 18 years old. I didn't know a goddamn thing at 18. Yeah. Like nothing. And they're coming in having to fight for 30-year-old mothers and other 18-year-old kids and people who just do nothing all day.
Other grown men with kids and wives and families, all that.
And they don't have to do that. Yeah. They don't have to do that.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Like I understand a lot of kids who enlist because of money, but at the same time, they're still going in and doing the sacrifice. Like I was saying, like they're still putting up their lives so that other people can have their freedom.
100%. I used to do the same thing. That's a great point you bring up about it being politicized, because that's what happens in the country though. It's true. It's like most of these issues, they're not really that difficult to figure out if you look at it from the viewpoint of just dealing with it as level-headed human beings, not dealing with it with attributing this issue to this political party and this issue to this one. That's what happens. But it's that's design. It's not. It's interesting how that's designed and then rolled out and then the whole country is literally like fighting over this nonsense. But with the military specifically, it's always associated towards the right. Yeah. And culturally, socially, especially young people like us, I mean, that's going to get just completely disrespected.
And young kids in general just don't respect authority, bro.
I used to do the same thing when I was a kid. I would even look at my own uncle like,
yeah.
But it's so stupid. I was like 14 or 15, you know. But now it's like, you know what I really realized? I used to do the same thing with cops. I have a few family members that are police officers, and it's like, one, the obvious is like there are instances that have been blown up nationwide that are absolutely deserving of the negativity that is associated with it.
Right.
There's instances that are horribly wrong by the specific individual. Let me be very clear on this. But for the most part, police officers and military men and service people, they're dealing with the most insane part of human life.
Yep.